Peace. This is Unplug 'em. Had to give it a second. I saw it was dragging. I'm doing what it do.
Speaking of the dragon, today's lesson comes to me from a few sources, but mostly from young men who are questioning their history. And it's interesting why an ethnicity's history is a mystery. As a young student of golden era hip-hop, myself having some skill, some verbal dexterity myself, and getting into it. At the time that I was getting into it, it's like today there's a certain prerequisite for where you need to look and certain things you need to know. At that time, believe it or not, it was about knowledge of self. And so that's really what brought me into knowledge of self. Of course, I grew up in a household where the black men were very militant. I remember looking at something on TV, some old show that don't come on no more, like Little House on the Prairie or something, and I saw how loving the white family seemed to be toward one another. And you know, in our households, oftentimes we can be combative, you know, very emotional, you know, and you know that's because of, you know, certain differences, you know, in general personalities. Okay, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It's part of the New World Order to make us believe that no, we're all the same. We all need to act the same. We're not all the same. We can embrace each other's differences. All right, that's reality. Being real, keeping it real. You know, we do some things differently, and there's some reasons why, and it's okay. People can say that about the Irish. They can make jokes about it, you know, about Irish people drinking, and everybody laughs, ha ha ha, and it's okay. And some jokes you can make about black folks. You can say, oh, y'all can dance, or ha ha ha, you know. But when we really get down into some things and try to see some reasons why, people get uptight, you know. People get uptight, and they get this squinched eye, okay? Or they get paralysis in the corner of the mouth disease. But I grew up in a household, you know, where the men was very militant, okay? I grew up in the 70s and the 80s, okay? 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, really, I turned 18, 91, the year I graduated. So you see around what time and what era that was rap-wise. When I was 16, 17, it was Knowledge of Self, KRS-One, Rakim. When I was a little guy, I was watching a show with my granddaddy. I think it was Little House on the Prairie. And I looked at how different it seemed like their family acted. But it resonated with me as, oh, this is loving. And so I really thought to myself, then I said it out loud. I thought to myself, oh wow, I wish that my family was like that. But that ain't how it came out my mouth. I said, wow, Granddaddy, I wish I was white and have mercy this evening. He'd like to hop through the ceiling. I said, Theodore, don't you ever let that come out of your mouth again. And he went sitting me down and telling me some things about things that should be known by all black men. And so from that point forth, I had a thing in me, you know. I remember Roots coming on TV when I was young, and I had a thing in me, a great desire to learn about, well, you know, who are we? You know, Detroit public schools at that time was full of teachers who had some degree of militance or knowledge of self. They wanted to teach the children black pride. Black pride was a big thing in the 70s, okay? So if I was 18 in 91, you do the math. So this was getting instilled in me, and then here comes conscious rap. I'm talking about Big Daddy Kane, and he's here today. Rakim, old lesser known people you might not even remember, like Rakim Shabazz. He had a dope song, Black is Back. Even Def Jeff converted from Give It Here, Don't Say Nothing, a pop type of song, to Black to the Future. A lot of people was inserting more blackness into their thing. You know, people was wearing African medallions On their second album, and their first album, they was rocking gold chains, gold cables, to be exact. And X-Clan had a huge impact on me. X-Clan took me to the next level, took me to Egypt with mine. But I started off, you know, like a lot of young men, just wanted to know something about myself and my culture, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So as these young brothers have asked several questions of me about it, I thought that, you know, as an elder now, you know, I'm not a child no more. When I was a child, I thought as a child and I spake as a child. You got to begin to conduct yourself a little bit differently. I know don't nobody want to accept their age or things of that nature. You know, it's an honor. It's a badge of honor. It's really an African tradition that it be a badge of honor, you know, to embrace eldership. And so I try to do that now. I try. So this is for the young brothers who wonder about our history. Some things about our history. Now, what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to go down through things that I feel are well covered. That's not my job. And I'm not trying to repeat or reiterate things that are already out there on a grand scale. Okay? Hidden Colors can do that for you. But what I want to do is perhaps present what's missing, the missing part. Okay? And I know I'm being eye hustled and ear hustled, and that's all right. I don't care. You know, I don't care. Realize. So I hope you get some real truth from this. This is going to be the Most High story. His story. History and my story. Mystery. Why is our story such a mystery? Why is the story of the black man such a mystery? Some of it does have to do with jealousy and prejudice, of course. Jealousy and prejudice are real, but they're forced. Okay? There are forces that be, powers that be, that wish to keep us fighting, to keep us fighting with ourselves, okay, because we never have any true leadership or any real guidelines for our behavior. Okay, a good thing to do, you know, is to look at your enemy, and also to look at the fact that the one who is called the Savior was also black. These things would help to, I believe, I know, because I know what it did for me. These things would help you to give yourself a higher standard to govern yourself by. It's not merely enough to know your history. People, you know, keep saying that, know your history, know your history. Then what you do with it when you know it. Okay? Especially when they point you to your history as a mystery, or they point you to the HISS story. Why do I say the HISS story? Because what a lot of Brotherhood members do is they try to point me, and they do point some of you back to the Egyptian mystery system. Their game is that the oldest thing is the best thing. Okay? That has nothing to do with nothing. Okay? The oldest does not have to be the best. Okay? We ain't talking about wine. Okay? When we're talking about history, you should know as far back as you can go. But then, see, the pride thing, that becomes the issue. All right? Let's not assume that we didn't do nothing wrong throughout history until the European came along. That's a big part of the game too. Okay? They have this saying, you know, everybody was kings and queens. Kings and queens have subjects, and in most every society, you will find kings and queens living decadently, luxuriously. and the subjects catching it bad. Okay? Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So let's do our full 360 plus 360 degree study of this thing. Let's look 720 at it. You've seen the 360 degrees of good, everything you want to hear, and some of the things you should. Now let's look at the things that they don't want to tell you, and why they don't want to tell you. It's very slick. It's a slick reason why they don't want to tell you, well, what was wrong, what happened, why did Egypt fall? Why did the black civilization of Egypt, which it was in the beginning, first of all, begin to get taken over, okay, by the HISS dynasty and others, by the Europeans? Why, and people point to Mark Antony and Cleopatra, but why was such a powerful belief system, if that's what it was, able to be infiltrated by civilizations that these same people teach you were simple cavemen? That didn't add up to me. Even when I was in my X-Clan phase, teacher of new+world+order in my community, okay? I didn't have to go nowhere and sign nothing and get ordained. I went down there and I dropped down $1,000 in 2 different trips on scrolls. I bought everything they had in there. They got to remember, because we drove down there on just a humbug. Because I want to know what was up. So I went down there and got every kind of scroll we could find. Okay? Every kind of scroll we could hold. And came back and taught everybody I knew, which was quite a few. And then they began bringing people. The next thing I know, I was holding meetings with about 20 folk, sometime 25 folk each week. So, that's just to give you a little background, okay? All right, but now let's go forth with this. So, the kings and queens of the first civilizations, sometimes we go all the way back, we're going all the way back. Let's start at the beginning. We're going back to Egypt, which was called Kemet by the people there, or KMT. People assume that it's E's, but there were A's in the beginning. That's why it's the first letter. Okay, so it should be Kamat, Ka, spirit, principle, Mat, the way of life, principle. Okay, so their way of life was about the spirit. But what spirit? The Temple of Hathor, one of the oldest gods of Egypt. And there's a pantheon. There's quite a few gods of ancient Egypt. And I'm saying Egypt for those of you that's not familiar with Kemet. But the Temple of Hathor was dedicated to a goddess represented by a bull. Okay? Which is where the sacrifice of bulls came from. But Hathor, a bull-headed god, an early form of mother goddess, was one of the first and most popular deities that was worshipped by royalty. Now, the royalty came from those who got the knowledge from the gods. That's who became royalty. What did the gods give them as knowledge? The gods gave them the ability to cause for other gods. That's what they told the kings and the royalty. We'll teach you how to bring other gods down into you. And we need some more people. You got any trusted brothers? Because we like how you made up genetically. And so they got their brothers and they were taught how to call down others. Now that's not the way it will be told to you, but once you get this game in you, you won't be able to be fooled again. Okay? They're doing a lot of fooling. in the name of schooling. And that's because the secret societies and the brotherhoods followed this way and still do to this day. That's why you can see Kanye come out there in a leather skirt looking awfully gay, because he is believing he's wearing a shindig. He's wearing the ancient Commission dress, and he's like, oh, they just don't know. You know how Yeezy is. Like, oh man, they just don't know what I'm rocking. But we're gonna get off into some things. We're gonna try. This will be a part 1 and part 2. So these gods, and they were generally sky gods or gods from one abyss or another. They came from one element or another. Okay, and I'm using this term, and then we're gonna switch it. Okay, these beings that came from out of other dimensions taught certain selected individuals who had the right genetic makeup how to bring more in. Once they taught them how to bring more in, then that's what they were told to do. If you want more power, if you want to gain power and you want to gain influence, then this is what I need for you to do. You say these words, you draw these symbols. Sacred geometry is ancient. And they, by use of sacred geometry, would teach the royalty how to bring more of their kind.
Excuse me, do you need a charger?
Okay. So, these beings came down and they taught this to certain particular individuals. Not everybody could know it. That's why it was called an Egyptian mystery system. Not everybody could know it. Only certain select few. And not only did you have to have a certain biological makeup that would welcome in these gods, but you needed to have a certain psychological makeup. Okay? You had to be willing to do this in order to get power. Okay? That's how you become a ruler. That's how you become a member of the elite. You have to have your reptilian brain got to be functioning on 10. Okay? It's essential so that you desire the things that they have to give you. A man that cannot be bought cannot be entered into. But someone with strong desire, it's a vibration. You have to want it. If you really want it, it'll come to you. So when you get all of the singers that sing with great desire for the spirit to come into them. And again, we're talking about something that have to do with our kin and our skin. But guess what? There's a lot of other type of folk that they love to go in. But when you want to know about the origin, we're talking about the origin today. Let's get it out the way. I've done a couple of videos on it. Okay. So yes, do all your study. You know, watch Hidden Colors. Watch, other things that will point you back to the history that's a mystery. But then let's deal with the mystery. Why do we stop there? Okay. It's beyond the slave ships. All of us didn't come on slave ships. The African, ancient African, okay. First of all, they say that they found the oldest bones. Dr. Leakey and them, Dr. Leakey. Yeah, okay. So some things you gotta have a game detector. Dr. Leakey and them say that they found the oldest bones in Africa. And then they say that they celebrated by listening to the Beatles song. Here we go with the songwriter's secret again. Lucy in the sky with diamonds in her eyes. Okay. And they would say that that was a little coded reference to LSD. That's what they would say. But it had to do with Lucifer in the sky. Alright. Now, You may not believe in Lucifer, and that's okay, that's fine. The greatest trick that the devil ever pulled was to convince the world that he didn't exist. But you don't have to believe in Lucifer, he believes in you. Quote from Devil's Advocate. But known by many names, okay? He is the progenitor of the ancient gods. Absolutely. Because they all did the same thing. Okay? From out of the sky, shining light, bright light. Then you have the ancient world's worship of reptiles. Okay? But Dr. Leakey and them is the main reason that we will say today all life began in Africa. Okay? And we know that even in what is called the Bible, you will find the Tigris and Euphrates rivers connected to the Garden of Eden. So the Garden of Eden was there. Alright? But we also know that Africa did not have the same shape and scape and landscape that it does today. And we also know that what is now called the Middle East is like saying middle right. The East is one side and the West is the other side. What's the Middle East? But the so-called Middle East is created by a man-made structure, lack of a structure, man-made omission of land dug out called the Suez Canal. Look it up. I'm going to give you the buzzwords. You do the footwork if you want to know. Okay? But this false canal was created to help perpetuate a lie. Okay? When you see the Masonic chessboard, when you see the Illuminati talk about the chessboard, or when you see videos and album covers, big shout out to Mark A, who sent me the Stevie Nicks album cover. Maybe I'll use that. Okay. Just like the Michael Jackson Blood on the Dance Floor album cover. I hope some of you are already students of the Illuminati. If you're not a student of the Illuminati, you might as well leave now. Because I'm going to show you how they are the ones who hid the history. You ever heard of the overplay for the underlay? They hid the history so that it would be a mystery, okay? So that you more hell-bent on looking up under these rocks over here. This is where my history is hid. Than to believe that it has anything to do with you and the scripture. You're not supposed to believe that. You're supposed to believe you came over here, unga boonga, with a bone in your nose and between your toes, with your mind froze. No, we were given all technology by the spirits who were a part of our Egyptian mystery system religion. They gave us that in exchange for things. Now, what did you have to give them? I mean, they gave us technology beyond what they're showing you today. But the Illuminati are the ones who hold the real keys to the secret of this ancient way. Why? Because they the ones who got the people who snatch up the people that can look at the hieroglyphs and tell you what do they really say. Have mercy. Don't play no games. So they know what they say. That's why Crowley was able to go over there. Aleister Crowley, that's right, noted booty boy, like other boule suckers. I'm sorry, but you know it's true. If you will make somebody do something they don't want to do in order to get some power from you, there's some really homo about that. And if you'll do it, it's more homo of you. Okay? You don't make no man crawl around or pull down his pants and get a spanking or get in that elephant line and none of that other type of stuff in order to help him up. Give him a leg up. No respect for that. I don't care nothing about it. Goes back to Africa. This to Africa. It goes back to what I'm telling y'all right now. I see you messed around now. That's right. It does come from the ancient Egyptians who first used it to keep, we're going to keep this secret to ourselves so we have power over them over there. And who was the them over there? Who was the oppressed people? Well, KRS-One once said, He's quoting KRS-One. This guy is crazy. Watch it, trolls. I posterize guys. KRS-One once said, who was a leading knowledge of self rapper, who really helped to bring that part of the genre that they now generalize as hip hop. It had a lot of different little sections. You had Miami bass, you had gangster, you had electro funk. You had different styles of hip hop, and the style called conscious, KRS-One, I mean, he was arguably the king for a minute. That's why he put together Self-Destruction. But he said famously, in those days, talking about ancient history, in those days, black Egyptians weren't right. They enslaved black Israelites. Moses had to be of the black race because he spent 40 years in Pharaoh's place. He passed as the Pharaoh's grandson. So we had to look just like him. All right. So, and do you know why I know that like that? I didn't listen to it yesterday. Because that, not only was it in heavy airplay here in the city, where you had a lot of pro-black teachers. If you went to Detroit public schools like I did, K through 12, they gave you a little knowledge of self. And then by the time I was 16, 15, 16, writing rounds and battling people, this was a central part of, being taken as a serious MC. So I got my game together. And by the time I was 18, I joined the Nation of Islam. But let's get back to the, which was the beginning of my long journey, looking into different organizations, looking into different black organizations. I wanted to be a part of the movement. Which one is the movement? I looked into everything. The Panthers, and joined all kinds of things. I was always a cautious guy. I had enough game about myself, thanks to my old dude, to not look without leaping, or not leap without looking. I would look and not leap, but I knew to check things out thoroughly. But the mystery is kept, okay, because it's a game. It's a chessboard game. All right, black on one side, white on another side. There's a grand chess master who's telling them each which way to move the pawns. They're directed by one director, so it's not a fair game. So you have those who are in charge of telling the black community what to do. They're brought into this same ancient system. And that's why they can tell you if you're blinded by pride. See, pride will give you a blind side. You'll be too proud of your kids or too proud of your hookup, what you got on. You might have a big doo-doo stain on the back. Okay, and if somebody try to tell you that it's back there, you too proud of how it look. Pride can give you a blind side, or maybe it just don't look right on you, and you ain't paying no attention because you got pride in something, pride in how you look. All right. That's why they say pride is one of the 7 deadly sins, people say. But it's because pride it blinds you. And it make you unable to see things you need to see. So be glad, have knowledge. You see the difference in the terms. It's not playing semantics, but it's really seeing that there's a difference in the terms. You can be glad of something, Even scripture says that the lions have fallen to me in good places, Talking about, I'm even happy about my family line. I come from good-looking people, people with talent, whatever. That's fine. You can have gladness. But, gladness stops short when it's something to be upset about, or when there's a problem in the mix. Pride, see even through the problem and try to make the problem like it's right. That's where you get people using the N-word on each other, and saying that it's something good. Pride can be used to keep you from seeing something when it's wrong. You say it's ours, we're going to embrace it. You see what I'm saying? So yes, the ancient Egyptian mystery system is ours. We taught the world how to Dougie. We taught them all how to get the Illuminati on. Okay? We taught them all, because it was our kings who these things first came to. You can find that in Psalm 2 and 2, for those of you who will look at a scripture or two. But let's look at some facts, some keywords, some things some people need because they believe only the things that they read. Now, first of all, let me say this right quick with the speed. If you believe that there is an Illuminati, it is unbelievable to me that you back up everything that you say by books that they put out. That's wild to me. Meaning through the sources of academia. Schools and universities are funded by the old families. They're called philanthropists. That's why when you go to a certain college hall, it's got a person name on it. Like all your streets got somebody's name on it. Okay? Look at your street. Okay? Think of different streets that you ride past. I ain't talking about streets named like 8 Mile, 7 Mile. I'm talking about like McNichols. That's 6 Mile. People say 6 Mile, but it say McNichols. Who was McNichols? Okay? Who was that law library named after on campus? That's a brotherhood member. Secondly, oh, so these are the people with all the power in the world. Hold on, game goofy goobers. Secondly, on the campus grounds, the people who got the most juice, the most props, the most respect, these people is known as the fraternities and the sororities. The fraternities for the males, the sororities for the females, and they are in secret societies because a lot of the things that they are made to do. Now you watch how they get down in the comment section. A lot of things that they are made and told to do, they cannot reveal. And I mean, out of all of the things that are revealed on YouTube, how many videos have you seen of a frat member revealing what he had to do in the frat, or a sorority member revealing what she had to do in the sorority? But I'm gonna tell you, you know enough people, you go enough places, you be in enough spaces, you'll hear different things, okay? And the truth will come out of many different faces. When I was in Atlanta, a place rife with black colleges, HBCUs galore, that means by default that you have a large number of sororities and fraternities. My people down there who definitely would have known. One of my people down there told me about how a sister had told him something that they had to do. Okay? Now you mess with me. You know, it's embarrassing to people. That's one reason why they not scared that you ain't gonna tell it. It's embarrassing that you did that you set up and did that you let men climax on a pizza and that you ate it, you and your sorority sisters. Or that y'all was told to go over there with the adjoining frat, or with the frat that was affiliated with you. And all y'all stand boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl. The ladies stick their thumb up the man in front of them, rectum, and he stick his Johnson in the woman in front of him. Now, these things have to be said because this is how you can hide a secret. Is this something you want to, it's not easy. It'll take a person of strong constitution to be able to say, well, yeah, I did that and that was wrong. It take a real guy, a real stand-up guy to be able to say that. But most of them gonna lie. They gonna lie. And how these things come out, because it's a few real people left in the world. And why do these homosexual rituals involve themselves in the fraternities and the sororities? And sexual rituals in general. It has to do with Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley was into sexual magic, but Aleister Crowley was into Egypt. He wanted to know the secrets, the Egyptian mystery system secrets, and he found them out. He had the juice to get the right information about what it really say because he knew, well, this is how royalty gets power, through contacting the gods. So I want to contact the gods. I want to contact Heru, and he contacted Heru. I contacted Thoth. I got down into this thing. I ain't lightweight jamming. I called myself Amen Thoth. I knew it was the Houthi. I knew it was the Jedi. So I called myself Amen Thoth the Jedi, and rocked the herringbone with an ankh on it. So, you can believe it and try to receive it if there's a video with big ankh on it. Believe it. Because I ain't got no reason to lie to you. I ain't gonna be around here long. I'm saying too many things ain't supposed to be said. Okay? I'm gonna see how long it lasts. It is what it is. But to my nieces and nephews, y'all need to know what squab is. They lying to you. They pointing you to Egypt and getting you lost in the sauce, tossed, and right crossed, knocked out. They standing over you looking at you like Chris Tucker. Let yourself get knocked out by a game goofy goober sucker. But this is the game. So the elite learn these things from these spirit beings, what they call the fallen. They call them the Nephilim and the Raphael. You find them in Numbers 13 and 33, Genesis 6 and Deuteronomy 3 and 11. And do embrace that book, because there is a true and living Most High, Almighty Creator, who didn't mean for you to get jammed up like you got jammed up. He didn't mean for you to stay jammed up. Getting jammed up is just the test. That's the test. That's the test. It's all right. If you're blessed by the best, you won't be stressed by the test. Okay? Take the test. Pass it. But don't fail. You fail by going the same way as your ancestors did. And that's what some of these game goofy goobers out here trying to point you to Africa want you to do. They point you to Egypt and they don't give you the 360 on both sides that's true. You see? So this is why they fail. Why did they fall? Because you can only go against the Creator and have your own way and go hard on the poor for so long before you have to get dealt with by the forces of the universe, by the force of the universe, who has forces. So we can say by the forces of the universe. The grand creator of all things will send down forces on you in the way of plagues, in the way of invasions, because you done got out of pocket. And I'm gonna tell you this, it's all kind of typewriter tough guys, folks with keyboard courage, and it's all kind of Masonic peons who don't want this told. It's tough ones and bluff ones, and there's plenty of them here. So it is what it is. But they catch some hot ones too. But it is what it is. Okay. So what? Tired of this lie being told and being believed. I don't care. Tell the lie. But don't have my nieces and nephews deceived. So yeah, you go and you learn your history. But learn that they're only giving you half. They're giving you 360 degrees of the math. And you need 360 to get the other half. Full circle. Going forward, see all the positive. And going back, oh, this is the other side of the argument. Once you know that, then you can make some educated decisions. So, okay. You can find the tale of the Amalekites. There were many civilizations that were born from those who wanted to take this magic. People would pay a lot for this magic. People would give daughters for this magic. They would give up firstborn children for this magic, for this system of bringing forth the spirit beings who they were told were the ancestors. And these spirit beings would come into the practitioner, and then he would have abilities, and the rest of the folk would ooh and ah. Now he's got a place of authority. The same thing happening today. They do it the same way. They give you abilities. Now you got this, now you got that. Okay? For some folk, they actually want magic still. Have you seen the demonic magicians? Look it up. Look them up. Tell me how they doing them tricks. But some folks don't want that. They don't want that. They want the magic, make a Maybach appear. Okay. Put about 500 racks in my bank account right here. And in order to do that, they have to do some things that's quite queer. That's right. Because when Crowley came up with his magical workings, he found that the most powerful magic, or the best spells that conjured up the spirits with the most power, who could give you more things, more higher things, the levels of kings, which is what he wanted, he had to get beside himself, have mercy, and beside someone else. I'm talking about threesomes and whatnot with men. Certain workings. Paris working, niggas in Paris. It's the name of a record. Okay. Last Flight to Paris. Puffy. Okay. But, yes, but in the Egyptian Book of the Dead, and it's something that I personally read, and it really messed with my head. I wondered, I said, now, what kind of stuff is this? But see, as a little ghetto child, certain things you just ain't gonna do. And I just felt, man, I was about through with the Book of the Dead and X-Clan too. When I read that Horus, who Brother J always giving up big ups to Horus, you know, and I'm like, now I know Brother J, you know, I'm thinking back then, you know, now maybe he didn't know, but back then I'm thinking, well, now I know Brother J got to know about Horus, much big ups as he giving him, and Professor X too. And do you know what Horus got tricked into? Set, the same one who posed that chopped up Osiris and scattered his body parts, and this is where you get the phallic symbols of the obelisks everywhere. Okay, like you see the Washington Monument is an obelisk. It's a representation of Osiris's Johnson that was chopped off by his quote-unquote evil brother Set. Okay, and if you read the stories, you'll see sometime a guy is good, sometime a guy is bad. If you read the stories of the gods and goddesses, and that's where they get, well, there is no good and no evil from. See, it's all part of a trickery to get you to bring in these spirits. Okay, to get you to use your body and bring them in. Use your body and confuse your body, and eventually lose your body, because you can only do so much reversing of yourself, of your natural true self, before you have to pay for it in the end. And that's the game. That's how the game go. But yeah, Set slipped up behind his nephew Horus and violated him from behind. And Horus let him. According to what I recall, he was going to trick his uncle. He was going to collect the semen and take it to the judge, Thorf. I remember this. It's seared into my brain. Ooh, this was traumatic. This was a traumatic event to find this out about who I thought was the shindig. So, this is the untold part. That our ancient cultures and ancient civilizations, the kings and queens, you're all kings and queens. Right? How can everybody be a king and queen? How a king supposed to tell people what to do? I'm going to tell you what to do and you a king too. See, it don't work like that. You got to have somebody to rule. Or somebody to fool so you can rule them. If you fool them, you can rule them. So this is what's taught. The essence of it. And this is the HISS story. The true nature of the rulership of Babylon, Sumer, Egypt. The blueprint for the NWO. Is there such a thing? Some of you don't believe that there's an Illuminati or a New World Order. And I'm saying, by now, I'm saying that you're a liar. You must be a part. So you will betray yourself in the comments section if you're not nice with the device. It was worldwide serpent worship and giants. You have the Serpent Mounds in Ohio, the Lizard City in California, worldwide, the Temple of Hathor, ancient Egypt, Blavatsky and Crowley, revering and bringing forth Horus. And Crowley said that what Horus told him is, I am the snake that giveth man knowledge. He said that his priests should drink strong drink and engage in lewdness. It's one thing interesting how when they're bringing you into the first degrees and whatnot, you know, they'll butter you up like a buttercup. They finna butter you up. They'll butter you up with drinks, drugs, and women. While you think that's just so they can gain control of you, it's a multifaceted attack on you. It's also so that when you're vibrating, not in control of yourself, you're easily raped by the spirits, meaning that they can easily hop in you because you're not yourself. That's why they call them drinks spirits, and anybody that push them gotta know it.
I just found out. See you Monday.
Anybody with some knowledge of self know it. That's why they call them spirits, because you get beside yourself, okay? You lose your mind. You literally lose your mind. And you lose your behind. You get out of your mind. I blacked out. I don't know what happened. That's one reason why they give drinks to girls. Trying to knock them out so you can have your way. It's ancient. And so Crowley was not only a homo and a demonologist,
Don't act like he ain't like
but
that.
he also
No, he know Fridays mean a lot to him.
was a dope fiend. He was a dope fiend. So you'll find a prevalence of the snake as a symbol of wisdom. So don't let nobody fool you on that. Well, the snake was a symbol of wisdom. Why a snake? Snake ain't smart. Where my southern boys at? You can take you a stick that's shaped like a fork and you can trap a snake in the ground with ease. Snake ain't smart. It's the serpent. Okay? But the snake became the symbol for the serpent. You felt that. Its prevalence in Eastern melanated cultures. And then it did move on to the other parts of the world. We taught the world, right? Civilization. Civilization was taught to us by another civilization. That's why it's called HISS story. But the prevalence worldwide of serpent worship, or of serpents as a symbol of wisdom, meaning that they taught man. We find this originated in melanated cultures. Serpent equaling wisdom. The separation of serpent and snake. Snakes sneak. In India, yes, and you'll find a separation, even in scripture. Okay? Serpent is Nakash, the whisperer. Okay? To whisper, you gotta talk. To talk, you gotta think. Even depicted in the Garden of Eden as walking and talking. This was the snake god, whom believers say deceived. But guess what? In the mystery systems, in the secret societies, they say he's the one who relieved, who let you free. Just like Adam and Eve said, you set me free. That's Charlie Wilson, the Gap Band. He was a member, had to be a member. But that line, you dropped a bomb on me. And yeah, people don't stay game goofy forever. They begin to see, wait a minute, this ain't what I thought it was. And that's where you get the songwriter's secret, sometimes giving lamentation to the serpent, that old dragon. some call Lucifer. In India, you had the Dravidian, also with worship of the snake all throughout the Brahman, the Bhagavad Gita. The story of Krishna. Krishna is always shown with a snake around his neck. You have the Nagas. Don't let nobody jive you, man. Don't let nobody tell you stuff that go against common sense. You look up what the Nagas is, Nagas, because I'm going to tell you. The ancient letter is A. And even in India, you had the black or the dark man was the originator there. The Dravidian. And some were mistaught. This is why back in the 80s and stuff, you would hear people say Asiatic, you know. And even today, you still have some who look at Asiatic. Because at one time, the whole world was called Asian, blah, blah, blah. No, it had to do with the fact that they have you low-key. Okay, you hip to Egypt. We're going to point you to ancient India. Because guess what? They was doing it over there too. So if you get stuck in the ancient belief, then you're going to get stuck with the ancient God. He's going to give you tons of grief. Have mercy, because he's nothing but a liar and a thief. And those who are under his system can be nothing less than that themselves. Nothing more than that. Can't get no lower than a snake, a serpent. These brothers is crawling around like a boa. But the serpent deities in Hindu and Buddhist mythology is the Naga, N-A-G-A. We've done a lot of things on the spell of spelling, on the spelling spell. So what else do we have to say? Nagas. And any relationship to that term to royalty is only evidence of the fact that royalty were worshiping these serpent gods. Don't play no games. Krishna and the snake, always found. In Egypt, you have the Uraeus. You also have many unusual skulls that have been unearthed, such as Akhenaten's from the 18th dynasty. His daughter, possibly his son, Tut and Nefertiti, all got these weird looking skulls. Why? What's up with the skulls? What's happening with the skulls? Because they were mixing and matching with these beings. They weren't just spirit beings. They actually could take physical form under the right conditions. Okay. And once upon taking physical form, then they could actually have intercourse. And that's, that's been told a number of times, a number of ways. Even the Dogon tribe of Mali, where the plane just recently crashed, all of that was symbolic of some serpentine brotherhoods doing. But the Dogon were for a long time highly regarded because of the fact that they kept the history and the traditions of these snake beings very sacred. But they have art and architecture that gives honor to these beings, but they have art that depicts little alligator men. I'm talking about men. They look like little whittled men, carved men, with alligator heads and snouts. Sound familiar? Part of the Egyptian pantheon. It looks the same way. It's a Sebek. But anyhow, they have these men with the heads and snouts, with Dogon women, obviously Dogon women because they look like human women, adorned with things that show that they represent the Dogon tribe, laid back in prone position, submission position with their legs open and their breasts combed to symbolize arousal. And this alligator man up over them like that. And that was in the Holy Tabs. I mean, you can Google it, look it up. Look it up. I looked up pictures of those things many times. All over the world, there's evidence of this being. Okay, this particular being, okay, because a spirit, let me clarify, okay, spirit need a body, need a house. They found houses of these little known beings. They made houses out of them because they vibrated a certain way. They was laying a certain way. They was down for doing certain things. If you're down for doing certain things, then they could deal with you. That's why they have to get such scurrilous, low down, game goofy goober, chumpish suckers to join their thing. Because some people just don't bow down like that. They just not made like that. You can't give them enough or nothing. But they wouldn't last long. They try to take it and run it. Please believe they got ways set up for all of that. My nieces and nephews, none of y'all think, because I once had a gang goofy goober friend of mine who said, oh, if this is what it is now, I need to join. And he jammed up in there now. Have mercy. And he walking around here looking like an old funkadelic song. Loose booty. But in Egypt you had the uraeus, which was the snake head on the pharaoh's dress, always shown about there on the pharaoh's head, okay, on the pharaonic headdress. And then you had the strange skull shapes because they was mixing and matching genetically. They got into the serpentine beings who already had a certain spirit in nature. It made them line up well with these fallen beings, okay? And some say that there were many other types of beings down here who also had bold natures, bold meaning bad natures, that these spirit beings could hop in. That's a Detroit word. And so once they hopped into these different beings, they had sex with women. The women produced strange creatures. And this is where you get many of the creatures of mythology. Okay. Amarna was where Akhenaten moved the center of power to. And there he attempted to change the monotheism, and there, from that point forward, he got a bad rap and a bad rep. Because they're like, hey, what's up with the monotheism? That's not how we keep power. We keep power going on by having a bunch of different spirits to help us do a bunch of different things and get a bunch of different things. And it costs. They need sacrifice. You got to give them something. First you start off with something lightweight jamming. Like I got a friend whose family was into Santeria. They'll put a plate in the corner with a glass of rum, a cigar, some rice, and leave it there. I say that's for the spirit. That's for the Orishas. Right? Okay, anyway. But, like we said, everybody don't stay goofy. Akhenaten felt like something's rotten, said Akhenaten. And he had them all in his noggin. He was one of them. Maybe he looked at himself and saw what was wrong and said, wait a minute. Figured it out. You know, people want to get out. The Pleasure Principle by Janet Jackson. Or even Rocket Love by Stevie. You don't sound like he liked that. He sounded like he realized he was tricked. You sent me riding on a rocket, gave me a star. About a half a mile from heaven, you dropped me back down to this cold, cold world. That sounds like you know you got put in a trick bag. So people, politicians, entertainers, celebrities, who you call stars, this is your astral theism. Stars decide that, you know, I want to take it to the next level, and this is what they got to do. Next level, next devil. Okay? Equivalent to more money, more problems. That's where that comes from. So people say, how can you get more money, more problems? You ain't had enough money then. But don't just mean more money, higher bills. That's lightweight jamming. Because you don't have to have that happen. You begin to live beyond your means. I'm talking about more money, more problems, whereas you got more things you got to do in this world with them brotherhoods in order to get higher up, if you want to get past a certain glass ceiling. Somebody hearing and somebody feeling. Okay. He was followed by Ramesses, who wanted to remain in league with the old gods of the mystery religion, which is the blueprint for secret societies, and their use of sacred knowledge and sacred geometry that links them up with the old gods. Then you had King Narmer, the first human king of Egypt. They'll tell you Osiris was the first king of Egypt. And that's how they relate the spirit gods to your ancestry and make you believe you calling on the ancestors when you calling on the fallen. King Narmer is behind the temple of Hathor, where you find depictions of snake, long slender snake. This ain't one of the playoffs that tell you is that's not how they look. They wearing ceremonial masks. Now, you might believe that. I was born that night, but not last night. You will find that game played in Stargate, where they got the dude, I believe it was Apophysis, peons, his goons, will have the Cobra hooded hookups, and you've got Cobra Commander, you got Cobra. But on the temple of Hathor, you see long and lean serpentine beings. Couldn't be nobody in a costume or a mask. They're drawn significantly different in body shape than the men are, and that's on purpose. Okay. There were lots of stelas and hieroglyphics that were left on temple walls and whatnot to show and prove and to tell. You get jammed up enough times, I don't care, what the no snitching culture is like. You let somebody keep jamming you up, you're going to begin to tell and want to tell. So the next person don't get jammed up as well, and they can smell the smell. But it's even depicted deceptively in Stargate, a term analogous to and with portal, meaning doorway to the stars, a gate to the stars. Again, stars is another word for the beings, the gods, stars. Like today, they call today's idols stars, stars idols, idols gods, who were worshipped. These stars were worshipped. That's why you have the stars named after so many different spirit beings, quote-unquote gods. Planets too. The first celebrities, these were the first celebrities, used to celebrate certain days based on where the stars was at, based on where the moon is at, based on where the sun is at. That's why I claim no religion, but I understand what's right from this one and what's right from that one. Because no great lie can withstand the test of time without being built on a foundation of universal, strong truth. So extract the truth from the Bible as well, and the truth about the Bible. It has nothing to do with Christianity. It has nothing to do with being a Hebrew Israelite. It has to do with following the Messiah, the way, the truth, and the light. And the fact that what God puts down right, man can never rewrite. Okay. These beings were secretly in league with the elite. Look at the horned god on the temple of Hathor. It's not a mask. Consider Osiris, who was a green god king, the first king fused with a god. Made it a winged woman with magic power. You call Isis, heavy in the news today, the original mother of mother worship. Plenty of games. Modeled with, along the same lines and the same times as Semiramis. Now, because they lie in HISS story, because snakes are sneaks, there's sometimes a battle between, was Babylon first, was Sumer first, was Kemet first. They'll tell you, according to the lines of water erosion on the Sphinx, it's 24,000 years older than we thought it was, and so on and so forth. Okay, what's a fact this month, they'll change back next. So you can't roll with that. You can't roll with them as being the proof of truth. It don't work that way. All right. So the first god, man, king, Osiris. Okay. Then you have King Narmer. All right. But Osiris, who reached god status as he lodged with Ra or Re. Right. He lodged with him, I'm sure. He mates with a winged woman with magic power, and they produced a half-man, half-beast prince. And this is Horus, who came to Crawley, who Kanye rocks on his chain. So, again, maybe you like Illuminati. There's a generation of that coming out here now. All right? This ain't for you. You just ear hustling right now. It's for those who want to remain true, who wouldn't sell themselves for nothing. Okay? It wouldn't do what you'll do. In China, you have the dragon worship, the dragon families, the dragon kings. Okay? The Xia dynasty. Mali. Talked about the Mali. The Dogon and the reptilian connection. Make you act like a reptilian, don't it? The Dogon of Mali. Numos and the fish-headed ones. They called their gods who taught them architecture, who taught them astronomy. They called them the fish-headed ones. Numos was the chief, and that's the word summon backward. And in Sumer, you had the Anunnaki, the green folks. Ironically, Madonna's Super Bowl ritual was inspired by the Anunnaki, the tales of Sumer, Enki, Enlil, okay, Ninurta, okay. Enki out of Apsu. You play a tune, Enki. Babylon, Urek, which is where you get Iraq from, U-R-E-K. Actually, U-R-A-K, we know it's always A's. A's and K's. You know about A's and K's. The Gilgamesh epic. You got the Aztecs, the Incas, and the Mayans with their serpent gods, and of course the prevalence of Quetzalcoatl, who was a serpent god. You have in Enoch and Joshua, in Enoch 7 and 4, the tampering with nature, the consuming of blood, like the societies that worship them. The life, the spirit of all flesh, is in the blood. After death, the blood is useless. So they would need to sacrifice things while they were living. Okay? And this is the fallen beings influencing human beings. The fallen beings trapped in serpentine beings influencing human beings. This is where you get the reptilian brain, the web fingers, and all of the rest. We've all been mixed up. It's all a mess. Okay? So we need to try to get that part out of us. And try to do our best. Alright? Not so we can be less, but so we can be blessed. Okay? And there's instructions given to us as to how we can go about getting some of the snakeness, some of the sneakness out, some of the weakness out. So that's what's wrong with them pointing you in that route without giving you the 720 without a shadow of a doubt. Have mercy. It's a heavyweight jamming bout. Fallen to Nephilim, Nephilim to Jinn, underworld gods and demons. All the same, once again. Is dimensional reality real? You have Einstein and Tesla telling us we had as many as 11 dimensions. The body is a shell animated by a spirit. So in as much as we are only able to see three-dimensionally, and people argue that cats can see more than three-dimensionally, and they are often used by witches and warlocks, even by Egyptian pharaohs, to see what spirits was about. See what spirits was around them. Watch cats. Even in the Smurf cartoon, you have Gargamel, the name of a fallen angel, with Azrael, the name of another fallen angel, his cat, Azrael. And Azrael was used to see these little blue spirits that are like little beings that some of those who dealt with the Amnita Mascara have been seeing. Absolutely. I'm not into the mushroom science, but I know some brothers who are. You know, I know brothers who study all sorts of sciences. Okay? There's always a hint of truth in any long-standing lie. Dr. Jacques Vallée asserts that aliens are demons. You even had a lot of folks who was into a belief system that taught them that the Anunnaki was the black aliens who would come back and mash down the evil white race and swoop up on the mothership. The mothership can't save you. Parliament Funkadelic mothership, and swoop up all of the brothers and sisters. Whether you was right or wrong, you was gonna get swooped up. And it sounds good because it appeals to your emotions. Most things that have to do with racial pride, period, it appeals to your emotions. You got pride in a football team that'll never win a game, but you got pride. You walk around like a game goofy goober with their jersey on, and you say that that's loyalty. Okay? I say it's goofiness, foolishness. But anyhow, even Crowley broke the veil and drew the first big head entity, and he was a master at bringing these things to this dimension. And he said today they call them angels and demons, tomorrow they'll call them something else. And some of y'all call them your ancestors. Okay. To see who isn't genuine, it doesn't take a genius. The agendas Project Janus. Genuine, genius, Janus, all have the same etymology. They share it with Jinn. Jinn make you sin. Project Janus, to get there to be two of you. If they can make you split yourself in two, they can have two demons for the price of one. Two spirits in you. Two entities for the price of one. Some people are allergic to the word demons because of the Catholic Church. They messed it up telling you supposed to exercise one. You exercise something to make it stronger. Luxury. Anybody see anything? X, doesn't it function as a S or a K? Yes, it does. S is Z, xylophone. So, what are you a loser of? Because you in luxury. And you've given up your soul and your body and your mind for some things that will all pass away in time. For some folks, that's fine. Reading the scripture will give you confirmation. You have to read it for yourself. Don't let people tell you all about, well, this one changed it and that one changed it, and about to split this, that, and the third. If you don't believe in the Most High, you can roll with that. But if you believe that there's a Most High true and living, who would have enough grace and mercy, foresight, to know what type of fight we in right now, then something would be left for you to grasp onto with all of these different belief systems and all of this New Age theology. Study New Age theology. Know what Crowley said. Know what Blavatsky said before you go and get any of that other ancient knowledge in your head, so you'll know how to separate. Okay. Spiritual Israel versus spiritual Babylon. Revelations 2 and 9. Right now we're talking about and dealing with the spiritual Israel. Yes, we were. And you know, some of you need to go there at this point in your life. If you're dead set on, well, I want to know my history, well, you need to go there. You need to look at it from that perspective first, and then let everything else match up against that. Okay? And it won't hurt you. Okay? You need to understand the relationship that you should have with the Messiah who came for you. Okay? And some people try to make it sound complex, but you can say something simple if it's true. He came for you and he died for your sins. Okay, he came for you. And you've been turned against him by pop culture, by brotherhood members disguised as people that's down for the struggle, attacking your story as it's told in scripture and using undisputably European sources and scholars to do so. This is the definition of game goofy. Piquing curiosity versus mystery. You know, your curiosity is piqued. It's problem, reaction, solution. You got a problem. I don't know who I am. They already got the solution sitting. The solution is we want to bring them into this belief system, into this Egyptian mystery system, get them back there. Give bodies to our spirit gods. This is the elite talking. We want to give more bodies to our spirit gods. So they got the solution. That's how problem, reaction, solution work. You know that, right? The solution is already there. So they make a false problem. Yet the problem is false. They hid most of the stuff in books. You know, well, eventually they'll find it. Eventually we're going to educate them. Eventually we'll endorse education. And then eventually they'll find it. And just as in the beginning, by their knowledge, by the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That's why the symbol on things having to do with education is the tree. Or an apple. You get a teacher an apple. Why? Why not some grapes? Then grapes taste better. But because and on your Apple computer, it has to do with knowledge. Okay, it represents the forbidden fruit of knowledge. Not that knowledge is wrong. It says our people perish for lack of knowledge, but it's about what you do with the knowledge that you're given. And what kind of knowledge? Some things you don't need to know. Absolutely, absolutely. Your 2-year-old say, why can't I touch the hot stove? You might let them touch it. But if they say, why can't I stick my finger in that electric thing, in that hole? You probably don't know what to call it at 2 years old. Why can't I put my finger in there? You gonna explain it to them? You may. You may. Nowadays, children are smarter. When I was growing up, they put the fear of God in you. Okay? They tell you you'll die if you did it. Have mercy. And the whisperer comes along and says, well, if you touch it, you won't surely die. Just like in the scripture. So, knowledge is a weapon. It's a powerful thing. And applied the right way, it's a beautiful thing. But people use knowledge against you. Okay? If I lead you into something, knowing that I'm leading you into it because it's a setup to jam you up, I had knowledge of what all was going to happen and you did not. So by me using my knowledge over you, I harmed you. And more people do that with their power. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Sometimes it's best to KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Feeding the reptilian brain, which is the part of the brain that operates the part of you fixated with rulership or rank, competition, and pride. Get thee out of thy country, was said to Abram in Genesis 12:1-3. He told him to get out of there because of the things that were being practiced by the ancient kings. They kept doing battle with different groups and tribes who were dead set on, we want that power too, throwing their children over cliffs and in fires and everything, anything to try to sacrifice them, hoping that by doing so they would get contacted by these gods, quote unquote, while covertly they keep these brotherhood members pointing you away from scripture, pointing you toward the Egyptian mystery system, while covertly keeping the same beliefs and agenda of Alice Bailey, Madame Blavatsky, Aleister Crowley. They all got something in common, don't they? Ancient aliens, Ouija boards, and their hidden dark lords. Luxury, the the Luciferian Illuminati, trying to bring you back into it because they want to put spirits in your body. They ain't nowhere and nobody. Their agenda is to keep you locked in the material matrix and bound by the box of books. And if you stay bound in a box of books, you'll be dumber than a box of rocks. By their master's books and their books. They're simply overseers to a master. They will use your pride. Watch pride, it'll give you a blind side. Your self-centeredness. Don't be so concerned about yourself anyway. Know your history like everybody else know theirs, but when you get fixated on it, it becomes a religious spirit. A spirit that's attracted to that type of vibration, and it'll hold you down and take you over. And they use your desire to do whatever you want. What's the Luciferian golden rule? Crowley's little famous phrase, as seen on Jay-Z's hoodie: do as thou wilt. Do what you want to do. Said a million different ways. You know, do you. YOLO. You only live once, so do what you want to do. You know, lots of different ways to say it. The names change, but the game's the same. Once you become shallow, hollow, and blind, you will be filled up by these spirits. Once you become shallow, hollow, and blind, you will be filled up by the opening of your mind. Be careful somebody say be open-minded. Some things you should close it off to. Some things you should not consider. You will be filled up. Once you become shallow, hollow, and blind, you will be filled up by the opening of your mind, by the old gods of Egypt, Sumer, Babylon, which caused them to fall, and in the same way will get you to fall. And got Rome too to fall. Elitism, royalty, powers that be, always have been in cahoots with these spirits who taught men how to control subjects via magic. And that's it for now. This is Unpluggable. This is for my nieces and nephews because I love them.